Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. There are a lot of political things going on, but I really want to talk about one thing today, and I kind of stole this idea from someone that I saw on social media had posted it, but I changed it a little bit, and I did some writing yesterday. This is sort of my message to Red State America. Because I saw these numbers yesterday on the COVID virus out of Florida, Texas, Arizona, and the other red states, and I saw red. I am absolutely livid about this. And I've thought about what we've all gone through since this pandemic hit America, and us specifically. And when I hear these Trumpian voters claim that they have family values, and then I see what's been done, I become more and more enraged, and I am just so mad today about everything that's gone on. We, in this building, have been locked down for 5 months. It is almost exactly 5 months today. And it has not been easy for any of us, not just you residents, but us. You hear us come on, any of us come on the TV, and you hear us say we miss you. We do. And I know you miss all of us. We also miss our families and our friends and so many other things that make our lives regular and normal and happy. And so I wrote this yesterday, and I'm thinking back in March and April. We were once the epicenter of the coronavirus. And what did we do? What did we do? What did our governors do, our businesses do? Well, we sheltered in place. We didn't go anywhere. We didn't do anything. We wore masks. We're still wearing them. We're still down, by the way. Bandanas, scarves, whatever we had to keep ourselves safe and other people. In this building, we lost dining together, playing cards, hanging out, socializing, besides activities, all the things that make living in a community great. And you have all done a phenomenal job of sort of putting up with this. And I appreciate that. And I know everybody doesn't have a good day every day. None of us do. But you have soldiered on through this, as have we. We crossed the street to avoid each other. We kept 6 feet distance from each other. We're still doing that. We wash our hands constantly to the point that some people have lost their fingerprints and some of us have, constant rash and dryness. We isolated from each other, even though it cost us in so many ways, physically and emotionally. Why? We stayed put, we stayed in, we stayed away. Why? Because we didn't want our kids, our parents, or grandparents to get this virus. Nor did we want anyone else's kids, parents, or grandparents to get this virus. Many people lost their jobs. Small business people lost their businesses. We now have a food and housing insecurity crisis in our states. Many people had to teach their kids at home while they tried to work at home, often right on top of each other at the same table in the same place. Our teachers had to flip immediately to remote learning, and in some cases in cities and in poorer areas where kids don't have the technology that some of the wealthier districts have. So you've had teachers dropping things off and going above and beyond. Our friends, families, co-workers, neighbors, residents, and frontline workers died in staggering numbers, and we couldn't get together to mourn them. We've missed weddings, funerals, births, bar mitzvahs, 50th anniversary parties, babies' birthdays, graduations, Easter, Passover, Mother's Day, Memorial Day, Father's Day, and 4th of July. We closed down live theater, movie theaters, sports, concerts, playgrounds, restaurants, bars. We cut kids' sporting events. We're not letting kids play with their next door neighbors for fear of contracting. Your children have to visit you via computer or through Windows. We have to do the same with our parents. We couldn't be with our loved ones if they died in a hospital, and we couldn't go to their funerals. And so much more we've lost through this. And why? Why did we do all this? To keep this virus from spreading and to get our country back open and moving and hopefully healthy, and so that we don't lose any more Americans, even if we haven't known anyone specifically who's died, though we all do here. Meanwhile, what have the red states done? What have the states with Republican governors done? And you know what? I'm going to interject something. I don't blame the governors here. I blame the voters. I blame the people in these states, okay, who consistently vote against their own self-interest, and now they're acting against their own self-interest. And they're acting, in my opinion, in the most unpatriotic way that I can imagine. Because one of the things about America is that we're sort of all in this together when it comes to crisis. And you go back to any wars we've had, we've sacrificed. The pandemic of 1918, sacrificed. 9/11, we sacrificed. When someone takes a hit, we all take a hit. We can all remember 9/11, Hurricane Katrina. What do? We banded together and we tried to help those in need. And that's every national disaster, national and natural disaster. Sandy, we got so much help from people out of state, and we all appreciated it. But this one is different. We're not in it together. At least the behavior has not been, we're in it together. Those in the Republican states ran around saying it's just like the flu. They're all overreacting. They made fun of us if you watched anything on social media, and they said, oh, this wasn't that bad. They continued to go out to bars, swam in crowded pools, ignored doctors, science. They actually were disputing our infection and death toll numbers. They were holding protests because they couldn't get a manicure or a haircut. Well, none of us have had haircuts in months, and we're okay. They showed up protesting lockdowns with guns at state capitol buildings. They criticized our governors for overreacting. They accused the CDC, the World Health Organization, Dr. Fauci, and every other medical and scientific leader of having some kind of political agenda. They ignored everyone except for the narcissistic grifter who currently occupies the White House. They were all over social media and on TV complaining about shipping times when they ordered things. They screamed and berated retail workers when they were asked to wear a mask. They were producing nonsense videos calling this a plandemic designed to hurt Mr. Trump. And where did it get them? Well, I'll tell you, in big trouble. Because I'm going to go through the numbers, the COVID numbers, just from a couple states. New York and New Jersey, obviously the epicenter a few months ago. In April, New York was recording 8 to 11,000 new cases per day. By the way, that's when we didn't even have enough tests. New Jersey was approximately 4,000 per day. We stayed in our lockdown, we listened to our governors, we listened to science. We're now down to, between June and July, New York has approximately 700 new cases per day, no deaths yesterday. And actually not too many deaths for a while. New Jersey, same thing. We went from 4,000 cases a day. Now with expanded testing, that's New York also, we're down to about 300 to 400 newly diagnosed cases per day. And hardly any new deaths. June 13th, Florida, Arizona, and Texas had 25,000 new cases. In 1 month, they've jumped up to 61,000. Now, let's talk about just those 3 states. Arizona, in April, 200 cases per day, that's all. Now, there's no way that Arizona, Florida, or Texas would not have known that they were going to experience the pandemic because so many people prior to the Northeast lockdown were traveling back and forth. So they went from Arizona, 200 cases a day, no mask requirements, nothing. They reopened their state on May 15th, way before they should have, way before the incubation period when the Northeast states had stopped traveling. They are now up to 2,500 cases a day and growing. Florida is the worst, of course. In April, they had less than 1,000 cases per day. Less than. They never institute a mask requirement. They didn't start testing. They didn't force everything to be shut down. And they actually almost fully reopened on May 18th. Okay, beaches, bars, restaurants. I mean, Disney opened the other day, which is ridiculous. Well, they went from less than 1,000 a day to June 13th was 2,500 a day. And yesterday, or today, 15,000 cases in 1 day and growing. Texas. We know about Greg Abbott, the governor there, was fighting masks and saying it was all about freedom. By the way, all these people also let churches gather, and we know that that's been a big transmission point. All of them let that happen. Texas, in April, less than 1,000 a day. Yesterday, 10,351 cases. They basically never fully shut down. No mask requirement until July 2nd. And even then, he has not said it's a requirement. Certain counties should tell people to wear masks. They did not start imposing major restrictions until June 25th. Guess what, my friends? That was too late. And now, because of them, and I'm not going to go through every single red state, but believe me, the story's the same even in very small Republican states. Their numbers have jumped dramatically and ours have not. But here's the domino effect. Our governor yesterday, as you know, has said he is not going to allow any new reopenings of anything. So we are now just status quo until the numbers in these other states go down. People are still traveling via car. Now we can control airports and we can control train stations to a point from certain places, but unless we're going to put state troopers on the border and stop anybody from coming in or out, it's pretty difficult for us to control car travel, and that's what's happening right now. So we are now being punished for the folly of these Republican governors and the irresponsibility of the citizens of those states to listen to science and reason. And why? Because they're all wrong except for the current occupant of the White House? I don't think so. We now have 136,000 U.S. deaths. It did not have to be that high. It did not have to be that high. And what did the current occupant of the White House say this morning? Well, yesterday he commuted the sentence of Roger Stone, who understand this. It doesn't matter if the Russian investigation was a hoax. Now, I don't believe that. I'm sure most of you don't. But even if it was, he still committed perjury. He lied to investigators. He lied under oath to Congress. He committed perjury. Regardless of whether you commit a crime, perjury is a crime. So if someone is questioned in a murder case and they did not commit the murder, but they lie about where they were, that's perjury. Now, generally people aren't convicted in those things. They're not prosecuted. But that is a federal offense, that is a felony. So even if you believe that the whole Russian investigation was some kind of mass conspiracy, he committed perjury. He is a convicted felon. He took time, the current occupant of the White House took time while 15,000 new cases were coming up in Florida. He took the time to commute Roger Stone's sentence because he has asthma and he was afraid of getting coronavirus or in prison. Well, why are we not commuting non-violent offenders and getting them out of jail so they don't get COVID? Why not do a mass commutation of sentences for anybody who's a non-violent offender? Clear the prisons, then they can socially distance. Why just Roger Stone? And now he says he's going to go campaign for him. So that's what the president was doing this weekend, besides playing golf. And the other thing he did was, does anybody remember Chuck Woolery? He was the host of like Wheel of Fortune and some game shows. Certainly not an A-list celebrity. He tweeted out this morning, "The most outrageous lies are the ones about COVID-19. Everyone is lying. The CDC, media, Democrats, our doctors, not all but most, the doctors that we are told to trust. I think it's all about the election and keeping the economy from coming back, which is about the election. I'm sick of it." The President of the United States retweeted this today. He didn't issue a national mask requirement. He didn't distribute more testing. He didn't go to any testing sites. He didn't call the governors in these nutcase states and say, you've got a lockdown or it's going to be bad. No, he was busy retweeting Chuck Woolery. Is Chuck Woolery a medical doctor? Is he a scientist? No, he's not. This is who the current occupant of the White House listens to. There's something so wrong here. He finally wore a mask the other day to Walter Reed, I think, and that was like top news. Why would that be top news? Why wouldn't the president have been wearing a mask all the time? And of course, he then said, well, I never said a mask was a bad thing. Yeah, he did. He said it wasn't necessary. He didn't have to wear one. He didn't like the way he looked, etc., etc. Now what are they doing? They're trashing Tony Fauci, and they've sidelined him they have on television Betsy DeVos running around saying we have to open the schools. Now, I don't know if any of you saw this on TV. I saw her in 2 interviews, and every person questioning her is saying, well, how are we going to do this safely? What is the plan? The answer from this administration, as usual, is they don't have a plan. Oh, we're going to leave it up to the states. Wait, but if you're mandating that the schools open, but then you're saying the states have to figure out, how can the states figure that out? And what about the states that businesses are still closed? And what about the states that are increasing? And what about the safety of the teachers? And who's going to provide the protective equipment for that? And how are you possibly going to socially distance kids and teachers, especially in urban schools, which even if they're not technically overcrowded, think about a classroom keeping everyone 6 feet apart. And how are you going to do it with little ones? What's the phasing? They don't know. They don't have a plan. The only plan is, oh, schools have to open. Just like their plan a month and a half ago was businesses have to open. And look what's happened in the states that listen to them. They're all going up, and we're not. Unfortunately, we're still locked down and will be because of this nonsense. I am very sick of it. But he had time to commute the sentence of Roger Stone. That was the priority for the occupant of the White House this weekend. Not doing something to stop the further deaths of American citizens around this country. That's what he did. And I know I'm ranting a little bit, and I apologize, but this is really getting to me. And the numbers out of these red states are staggering, and they're still refusing to wear masks. Still. Because the president told them it's some political thing. A virus is not a political thing. It is a germ. I mean, it doesn't know if you're a Republican. It doesn't know if you're a Democrat. It doesn't know where you live. The virus is winning right now because we have an absolute and totally incompetent and inept federal administration. And if you ever didn't believe that it mattered who's in the White House, just look at this. This matters. It matters a lot. Next week, I'm going to talk about the Never Trumpers groups, which are all Republicans, and I'm going to talk about the vice presidential stakes, though it looks like Vice President Biden may be picking who his vice presidential nominee will be this week. I'm just, I really am in no mood for sort of fun political talk because of the death toll that just keeps mounting in our country. And there's a lot of people saying, oh, well, you know, these people are getting what they deserved. Well, maybe on some point, on some level, it might be thinning the herd, but it's an indicator to me of what is so wrong in America right now. The divisiveness and the disagreement on fundamental things like science. And it's just not okay anymore. It's just not okay. I mean, all we asked them to do was wear a mask and wash their hands and socially distance. That's all we asked them to do. And they couldn't do that because the current occupant of the White House told them it was some kind of hoax and some kind of conspiracy against him. And I am just counting the days till this administration is over so that we do not have to listen to this kind of nonsense anymore. Anyway, I hope you had a good day. I'm glad I got that off my chest. Please wear your masks. Please wash your hands. Stay safe, socially distance. You can tell I still haven't gotten a haircut, so I'm in the same boat as all of you. I miss you, and hopefully we'll see you soon.